Game 2, Phoenix, Arizona, Western Conference first round. Phoenix Suns take on the Los Angeles Lakers, hampered by the fact that they don't have one of the most clutch players in the NBA in Chris Paul playing clutch time minutes. His injury, Matthew, appears to be more severe than we all initially thought, and ultimately the Suns lose to the Lakers by a score of 109 to 102. Matthew, before we get into everything, how you doing?
I'm okay. It was, I watched it by myself, and it was very, very lonely. How are you doing, John?
kind of the same. I realized it right before the game started. I was like, you know what? Watching Suns games are better when you're sharing that experience with somebody. Now, granted, my wife came in at the very end. She's like, "Oh, this is close." Like, yeah, I'm in here like clapping and yelling and sounding like an idiot. Because I will say, typically during the regular season when I'm watching Suns games, I'm pretty mild. I'll do a fist pump or like, but like playoffs is I'm standing, I'm pacing, I'm shouting, I'm yelling, I'm experiencing the game.
Yeah, same here. And honestly, there's one thing that you brought him up earlier. I'm just trying to ignore the injury with Chris Paul. Hopefully that thing goes away because, oh man, I don't know. It's just crazy. Every time the Suns make the playoffs, even after 11 years, there's some piece of crap thing that happens to us, and it sucks.
Same old bullshit. But we'll get into that and plenty much more. Welcome, everybody, to the Suns Jam Session podcast. Whether you're watching along live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, or you're listening on the Bright Side of the Sun podcast network, I hope you enjoy the fact that you can hear us a little bit better. We were at the Chupacabra tap room last time. There was a lot of audio issues. There was blondes behind Matthew and Espo.
Butt cheeks.
Butt cheeks everywhere. It was quite the experience. But we're kind of back doing our normal thing for this post-game podcast. So welcome and thank you for joining. Make sure you follow the show on Twitter at Suns Jam. You can follow me on Twitter at Darth Voida. You can follow Matthew on Twitter
at Matthew Lissy.
If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe and smash that like button. Even though the Suns might not have gotten the victory, you can still give us a like button because it helps with the algorithms and such. You can become an elite Jamster by clicking the join button or following the link in the description. And feel free, if you are in the chat watching along live, to hit that super chat button and donate. Maybe you can, if we get enough money, maybe we can actually go to a game, Matthew. How fun would that be to actually go to a playoff
I would
game?
love to join everybody at the game. What is the deal? I'm in my apartment by myself. I did have a migraine today. Oh, poor me. What a poor baby. What a poor bitch I am for being at home by myself and not experiencing this with more people. I need to be out there. I need to be at least with you, John, because when they lose, especially, I don't have no one to turn to and cry on no one's shoulder.
So, hit the super chat button. We can use it to get some tickets to go to the game because help us. We're poor. Yes. Subscribe, rate, and review if you're listening on the Bright Side of the Sun podcast network, and leave a 5-star review if you are on Apple Podcasts. Don't just give us the 5-star review. Go ahead and leave a comment too. We'll read it right here on the pod. And if you have any shows, you can email us, sunsjamsession@gmail.com. Matthew, you got to be drinking tonight, right?
No, but I do have a Diet Coke.
We both have Diet Coke.
Look at us. Dude.
Look at us. Now, granted, I'm only doing that because I already opened my beer. So okay. I need a cracking sound. So, on that note,
doesn't get any better than this. The Suns lost in some Diet Coke.
Sounds so crisp, so delicious. And you know what? Even though we didn't do it today, I think I'm going to change up the intro song. So this one's coming to you from Zane Zor, ladies and gentlemen.
Let me hear it. Let me hear it. Let me hear it. Come on, let me hear you say. B-L-A. 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 Go Suns. B-L-A. Let me hear you say. B-L-A. Let me hear you say. B-L-A. Let me hear you say. B-L-A. Go Suns.
So there you go. Thank you, Zane Zor.
Thank you.
He used that, reached out to him before the game. He gave us a thumbs up, so appreciate it. Go follow him on Twitter and his YouTube channel as well. And he's actually on Spotify. I actually went on Spotify and I found his Valley Boys song, and I was bumping it all the way home today because I was just like so amped and so ready for this game.
Very cool.
So thank you to Zane Zor for that. Unfortunately, they did not beat LA tonight. Lost by a score of 109 to 102. And I guess the first question I have for you, Matthew, before I skate out of this picture and turn on my fan in here because it's hot as hell, how unfair is it that CP3 is hurt?
It's very unfair. And honestly, John, now that you're moving away, I honestly just thought I was ignoring it today. I saw some tweets, people are thinking about Chris Paul all day long. How is he going to be? I was trying to ignore it because honestly, I thought maybe it would go away. A lot of things in my life, I try to ignore it. Check engine light, just ignore it until my car breaks down. But this is one thing where, of course, it poked its ugly head again and basically cost the Suns a game, obviously. I mean, if you're playing with a 10% Chris Paul versus I'm only like 90% LeBron James, you're gonna have a hard time winning. I mean, the chances were there, but absolutely not towards the end. And I don't know, man. It's just a tough one to swallow tonight.
It's interesting because this is the series, you're a LeBron fan. You're somebody who respects LeBron and the way that he plays basketball. And this is actually the series that's going to change all of that. And that's what I actually, whatever happens for the remainder of this series, I'm happy for that you finally can join the fuck LeBron James train that I've been driving for, just about the past 2 or 3 seasons. I mean, I respect him as well. But, relative to Chris Paul being hurt, it is unfair. It's unfortunate. It's frustrating as a Suns fan. It's a typical Suns fan story. As you write the history of the Suns, you always run into situations like this. And for the Lakers, it's the exact opposite. Due to their location, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who was drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks after the Suns lost a coin flip, stayed there, won a championship there, but he wanted to play in New York or LA, and he went to UCLA. So the first chance he went to LA. The Lakers got Magic Johnson because of a fluke. They were a playoff team that got the #1 pick the following year and, rode Showtime Laker forever. They got LeBron James. They got Kobe Bryant. They got Shaquille O'Neal as one of the biggest free agents. I mean, it's just they're a team that, again, we have a little brother complex for a reason. It's because when we talk about breaks, for the Lakers, it typically goes the Lakers' way. For the Suns, it typically goes the way of the Suns. And that is, after everything I saw with Chris Paul, it was a weird injury, and I didn't really see where it happened. And I saw, his statements directly following the game in which he's like, no, I'm absolutely playing on game 2. But then they asked him about it. He's like, yeah, I heard a crack.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah, that's the one part you don't want to hear. They played some of Frank Vogel's post-game, his press conference. And honestly, some of it, what he said, I was like, oh, do you really want to say that about your team and what you're going to do? But when you heard Chris Paul say that, honestly, maybe it just slipped out because you don't even want them to know anything happened, right? You try to get off the floor as fast as you can and just look at it and be like, hush, hush about it. Let's not, even in pre-games, he wasn't even warming up. He wasn't even at the free throw line. That's what I heard. He was just doing stretches all day because he doesn't want to show his jump shot. He had the wide open layups. He had the wide open floaters. He did not throw up there. And when it gets to that point, then the Lakers, of course, know, like, okay, just leave him open. Give him wide open shots because his one shot he made, he was so wide open from 12 feet. And the Lakers, they were going to do that all game long. And it got to the point where you just couldn't play him. And I felt bad because when I saw him on the bench, they showed him like the first time when he went back and put something on his shoulder. I think it was just a heating pad. He looked so upset, like almost about to burst out crying. He was trying to hold that shit in because there he is, game 2 in the playoffs versus the Lakers. They have a chance to go up 2-0, and he can't help his team. And I felt so bad for him, man. Like I almost got teary-eyed too, just thinking that because all he goes through, all that he has gone through his whole career, and to get to this point, and it's like you have a very good team with the Suns, and you might be able to beat the Lakers, and this happens. I feel for him, man, and I hope he can be healthy next game.
Another fluke injury, unfortunately, for CP3, and we've really had an opportunity after watching game 1, him kind of fumble the ball around. You saw tonight that he wasn't on, and the same thing. He had wide open threes as well. Those pull-up transition threes where he normally just drops them and swings the momentum. He wasn't taking them. He was passing out of them. So, but here's the positive. You have a couple more days of rest. It is a 7-game series. And coming to this game, I'll ask you this, Matthew. Like, did you honestly think that the Suns were going to win this? Or did you know LA was going to punch back?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the Suns were going to lose this game. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
But this is just like we were doing the pod before, it's like you say, oh yeah, the Suns will win in 6, but then outside of the podcast, we would talk about like the Lakers are going to win. And that's the way you have to go about this because you don't want to give too much credit to the Suns, just like they don't want to themselves to go out there and play the best ball they can play because they know it's still the Lakers. Even if you're up 3-0 on them in the series, it's still not over. So you have to believe that the Lakers are the better team every time going forward, even though in this matchup tonight, Suns have so many chances to win it. And if this is like the best Lakers team, and I don't even want to say it, they're just not as good as we think they're going to be. So,
well, there you go. That's the point I was trying to, I'm getting to. The Suns win by 7. And at one point with, about 3 minutes left in the game, it was a 1-point game. Now, granted, that's where their strength is. They're superstars. And their superstars got them home. LeBron James made an unbelievably hard shot. Anthony Davis made a clutch 3 after a block on Deandre Ayton on the other end. So they definitely earned this victory. But know that the Suns were without Chris Paul, and they only won by 7. And they had good performances from Anthony Davis and from LeBron James and Dennis Schroeder and Andre Drummond. And they had a solid performance. And Chris Paul was not healthy at all in this game. He ended up playing, a total of like 27 minutes? 23 minutes. 23 minutes for Chris Paul.
Yeah.
6 points, 5 attempts from the field, and 5 assists. If this is, we hope this isn't super serious. I'm really interested to see what comes out in these next couple of days. But if it is something that just is a muscle injury and it's a nerve kind of thing, and they give it more treatment for a couple more days, and we head to LA, and even if he's not right in the LA game, the next game after that is Sunday. You know what I mean? I mean, today's Tuesday. So if you go into that Sunday game and you're down 2-1 and you get Chris Paul back to 80-90% of health, this team can be scary because they do play defense. They play defense tonight. Again, 109. I think that there are a lot of positive things to take away from this game. I didn't think that the Lakers were going to roll over in any way, shape, or form, and they didn't. They made their adjustments. And you saw a lot of those adjustments. And the first adjustment that I saw tonight was the loose ball foul on Anthony Davis kicking Jake Crowder in his loose balls.
The karate kick, huh?
What the hell was that, man?
Come on, the way to start
Paul
the game.
Urban in the chat says, why was Sarge put in the game so early? I hope it's because someone was injured. No, Jake Crowder had 2 fouls in the first 58 seconds, including one where he got kicked in the nuts and then was put on the bench. I mean, he was in foul trouble all night. But what do you think of that karate kid, Mr. Miyagi, like wax on, wax
Yeah. Well, dude, you know what? Honestly, what a way to start the game, right? Let's put them on the line, get those free throws going, get the tension up there a little bit. I wish it was a little bit more blatant to where Anthony Davis was actually looking, then it would have been a flagrant 2. He would have been thrown out of the game. I think if he was looking down at where he was kicking, I think he would have been thrown out. A little Draymond Green, right? Get him out of there. Little payback, right? LeBron, you're going to kick us in the nuts. All right. And we're going to have one of your guys suspended. That's my trash talk right there. That was pretty bad. I would have been
right in the crowd of cock.
The crane kick. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was, and it was pretty nasty, man.
This guy in the chat right here, he says it barely tapped him. He milked it. Mr. Schweikert.
Is this a Lakers fan?
Have you been sack tapped before? If you get punched in the balls, it hurts less than a little sack tap, dude. Like he tapped the nads. He definitely tapped the nads, and he went down. And don't get me wrong, it is the NBA, aka soccer, so everybody goes down hard. But I mean, I just thought that, obviously I'm making light of the situation. There were adjustments, and you're going to see that throughout the series. And the primary adjustment that I saw was the fact that the Lakers were willing to go big in this series. And it's something we talked about entering game 1. We wondered how much time Andre Drummond would spend on the court, how much time we would see AD playing the 5. Because if AD plays the 5, it almost plays into our hands because of our small ball lineup. Early on, you saw Marc Gasol get some minutes. Markieff Morris had some minutes. The Lakers saw that rebounding differential in game 1, and they adjusted with size.
They did. And honestly, it seemed like even the last game, Drummond started out kind of hot in that game. This game, same thing. And honestly, when you look at this game through the first quarter, everything was going wrong for the Suns, especially, of course, the rebounds. And they kind of shorted up towards the end, towards when it kind of mattered, even though they gave up a bunch of second chance points, I think, early in the fourth quarter. But then after that, they kind of shorted up, but they had to play team rebounding. And then that's what they have to do. And if I had to see the size thing once again on a graphic, for the Lakers, showing how they're 6'10" guys. It's like, is that even that big? Like,
there's 2 graphics that they're going to show a ton during the series. How big the Lakers are, and like what Chris Paul has done to every team that he's been to for the past 5 years, right?
Yeah, it's those 2. And honestly, with the size thing, I guess it matters. But the way the Suns were playing, though, when you start turning the ball over early, it just affects everything. No matter what you're trying to do out there offensively, defensively, if you're turning the ball over on just shit passes to where they're just It's not really a lot to do with the size and length. It's just bad passes. And then Booker, towards the end of the first, started really picking up the ball and started like continuing to dribble and not pass out so quickly. He kind of took his time and slowed things down, but everything was going by so quick to where when you turn it over, everything else is going to go wrong, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's how did the Lakers beat the Warriors in the play-in game? It was real simple.
Luck.
No.
Just joking.
No, it's the simple fact that the Warriors in the second half just kept turning the ball over. You know, they were playing solid, but then they started to turn the ball over left and right, and they allowed the Lakers to stay in the game. Then you have tonight for the Phoenix Suns, and it was, you know, early and often in that first quarter alone, it was ridiculous. For turnovers, you had 5 turnovers, led to 9 of the Lakers' first 12 points. I mean, you can't do that when you're trying to come into a game, step on the throat of the opposition in your house. You can't do that. I'm stealing something from the Sun solar panel, so the shout out to them, because normally we'd be doing this podcast with them, but I'll hit them with the little. Normally Dave will stat us, and maybe he'll join us a little bit later, and he can guess with another stat. But the killer of this game for the Suns was those turnovers. They had 13 turnovers to the Lakers 5. Here's the difference. I'm sorry. I'm messing it up. I see the stat me Dave threw me off. The Suns had 13 turnovers. The Lakers had 9. But the Lakers had 5 points allowed 5 points off of those turnovers. The Suns allowed 21. So a 21-5 advantage for the Lakers. That's a 16 point plus for the Lakers off of turnovers. Here's your game, folks. The Suns the Suns are known for protecting the ball and not having a lot of turnovers. And when you have that many turnovers, when you have 20 or when you have 13 turnovers in a playoff game, and you give up 21 points off of it, chances are you're going to lose.
Yeah, and honestly, when you have James Jones on the pregame even saying, they're like, what's going to win this game? Don't turn the ball over. Suns come out, and we've had these games this season, right, where the Suns will turn it over in the first quarter, start out so slow, not even really depending on the opponent. They're just out of whack, and that's what they were tonight, especially when you have Chris Paul not knowing how he's going to be, and then he's in and out of the lineup, basically out of the lineup. But in the first quarter, you could just tell it's all wrong. It's not going to flow as well. It's not going to be as crisp as it was. That throws everything out the window. It really does on offense. You have to start making things up. And I think Booker had to take control, and I think he did a better job after turning the ball over 3 times in the first quarter. He held onto the ball. He did a really good job there. But when James Jones comes out and says, hey, don't turn it over, and you do, that's what's going to happen when you do turn it over. You're going to put yourself in a hole, even though it's like a 10 to 15 point hole, and you get back into it. To get back into it, all that energy, it's hard to overcome once you take the lead, to expand the lead, because you wasted all that energy, not wasted, but you use all that energy to get back into the game.
Well, that's old Suns basketball, right? I mean, that's the Phoenix Suns of the past 10 years have been is a team that's been consistently down. So we've had to use a lot of energy to get back in the game, and we ride that emotional roller coaster to get tying the game, and then we just don't have any gas left in the tank. Back to Devin Booker, ends the night with 31 points. 7 for 17 from the field, but 17 out of 17 from the free throw line. And obviously a lot of that's junk. He essentially ended with like 24 points because he had about 7 made free throws, 6 or 7 made free throws at the end of the game on those fouls that kind of boosted his overall scoring average on the series now to 20 or 32 and a half. I think that's what if math serves me right, he's had 65 points in 2 games. So there you go. But the interesting about Devin Booker, he only had 3 assists tonight, and with Chris Paul playing the way that he is and barely playing, you're going to see a lot of the return to Booker having to play some vital playmaking minutes. If that's the case going into Game 3, and we'll do a Game 3 preview in this a little bit later. But I really thought that Devin Booker's ability to try to facilitate an offense at times was hampered again by the length of the Lakers and their willingness. That was the other adjustment, is they bum rushed Book, and you knew it was coming. It's not like anything that the Lakers did I was shocked by. I was having conversations with people on Twitter, conversations in person, conversations with friends via text, and they were like, go Suns, we're going to win this game. I'm like, I hope so, but know that adjustments are coming. The 2 things I expect is they're going to pull DA out of the paint and try to get him on, switches to where he's kind of coming out, and you're going to have Devin Booker is just going to get bum rushed. And that's, two things that definitely happen. The third factor that the Suns couldn't overcome tonight was the fact that Chris Paul wasn't there in the last 5 minutes of the game to facilitate the offense when we were down by, or when we had the game tied. If Chris Paul's in there, it's a different result.
It is. And Devin Booker, too, adjusting to having to play with Cam Payne is something that you kind of want to watch, and especially in this game, because if Cam Payne's going to play all game 3, then Booker, when he was on a hot streak in the second half and really got the Suns back into it, the Cam Payne kind of takes. He played a pretty good game. He played a very decent game.
Absolutely.
For how taking up that many minutes, having to play for Chris Paul. He did the best he could. But then when I was kind of looking at Booker, I'm like, is he touching the ball enough? Is Booker having the ball in his hands enough with Cam Payne on the floor? So I hope that in the second game, with Chris Paul missing a lot of minutes, can Cam Payne just give up some of those ball handling skills of Booker? I don't know if a lot of people are in favor of that, but just because Cam Payne can be selfish in a way, that's good because he can finish around the rim, of course. But I think Book is going to do a better job at forcing better passes, getting his teammates set up, and I think that'll help because Cam Payne tonight really, I think, had a lot of the percentage of owning the basketball tonight. So
yeah, he did. I mean, he went for 19 points and 7 assists, 3 rebounds, and he went 6 for 15 from the field. So, real quick before we move on to our next segment, let's go ahead and bring in Mr. Dave King, coming live from Phoenix Suns Arena.
Hey, Dave.
Dave, how are you doing?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Doing
Good.
well.
We got all the bad stuff out. So
yeah, we've already talked about all the bad stuff. So, what are your initial
we're all
thoughts?
done with that.
No.
Yeah.
There's pros, there's cons. I think the biggest pro is the fact that this is a 7-game series, and we lost by 7 points with a hampered Chris Paul. What'd you see in the arena tonight, and how was
understatement?
I
think
is
we
he going to
got
be
Tyler
okay?
Ulis tonight instead of Chris Paul. I don't know. That's what it felt like out there. No offense to Tyler.
Any
is
word
he going to be
on-
okay?
Yeah.
We got no idea. Monty said they're just going to do the best they can to get him ready for the next game. That he didn't look like he was ready to play once they were out there.
in the third quarter, the Suns started out really slow. And I kind of noticed towards the end, once AD was forced to call a timeout when Cam Payne was surrounding him, was the crowd kind of like sitting down the whole third quarter? Did they not start getting into it towards the end of the third quarter? Because they seemed very, very quiet.
Well, you guys were, usually you can't hear the crowd on the phone. On the TV. The crowd was into it. They were definitely into it. They weren't as crazy. It's hard to get raucous when you're down 15, don't you think? If you're in the crowd, you're not going to be screaming quite as loud for, missed shots and turnovers as you would for made shots and leads. So, but the crowd was still here. They were definitely into it. They were just waiting for the Suns to do something good. So, when the Suns did come back in the third quarter, it was a huge boost from the crowd. And the crowd was going nuts. Cam Payne was riling people up. I don't know if you guys saw any of that, but definitely the crowd was very much into it as the Suns came back and got into that game.
You could tell we really missed Chris Paul in that last 5 minutes of the game. Clutch time moments. That's where he thrives. Hey, let's add Saul in here real quick. Where are you at, Saul?
What's going on, fellas? How we doing?
Hey.
Listen to your voice.
Run, guys. We got more interviews.
All right, Dave.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Dave.
Sorry I wasted his time with that stupid question.
So, have you lost your voice after screaming all night, Saul?
Sorry, I can't hear anything you guys are saying. Maybe my
Awesome.
reception's bad. I guess I'll try again some other time.
All right. See you later. This has been great.
Take care, Saul. All right, there you go. Live from inside and outside the arena.
Yeah.
Two guys who were very, very busy and can't hear us. But you could tell by Saul's voice, to kind of answer your question, Matthew, it sounded like the Suns fans were just waiting. They're waiting for that moment. They got that moment, but, again, missing Chris Paul is absolutely it's something we're going to have to continue to monitor. And again, it's just not fair.
It's not fair, man. And I was actually going to ask him about the body language too from the Lakers bench because I feel like the whole game they didn't really seem really into it. So I just wanted to see what it looked like during timeouts, but we'll find out next time.
The Saric smoke break.
Whew, doggy, I'm gonna need a smoke break after watching Dario Saric play tonight, my friend. He obviously was given a lot of minutes early, seen as Jay Crowder was in foul trouble. Jay Crowder ended with 4 personal fouls, but had 2 personal fouls right off the bat, and only played 5 first half minutes after he got his 3rd personal foul, almost once he came back in the game.
Yeah.
So Dario Saric he ends with 15 minutes, but it felt like 45 because just really a frustrating performance. He had a steal, he had a rebound, he had 2 points, had a couple turnovers in his time on the court. But Matthew, what did you take notes on Dario Saric, and were they pretty?
I did. I'll read them. Grease on the ball, playing on a slip and slide, in for Crowder. It looked like Saric was on a slip and slide playing. Putting a crouched body on Drummond to box out. That was one play that was really good.
Well, let's back up. Let's talk about the slip and slide first.
The game.
That
was on my notes.
Let's talk about the slip and slide first. We don't talk about it very much, but we definitely, like, every time Deandre Ayton fumbles a ball, like, everybody's like, oh, hands. Dario Saric fumbles the ball way more than Deandre Ayton. And every time he gets the ball, I'm like nervous. It's like trying to help your grandmother up out of a wheelchair to walk across the room. You're just like very fragile, like, it's okay, Granny, I'm going to help you. And like that, every time he has the ball, that's how I felt, or it got near him. And it's like, I love Dario Saric, and I'm at a loss for where he's not athletic against a team that is big, and they're going to push him around. And to your point on Andre Drummond was throwing him around tonight, dude. He was Andre Drummond's bitch tonight.
He was, and honestly, last time we had the pod, I was like, use up your fouls more, Saric. Put your body into him more. Try to just rough it up. He just didn't do that. He didn't have the time. I mean, these guys out there around Saric, they're going like 10 times as fast now with the playoffs, like with these 2 games, because it is a playoffs. The guys seem like they're twice as big, twice as fast. So it's going to be very, very difficult to keep them in the games. The adjustment needs to be made, right? Next game where Saric just doesn't enter the game. I mean, if he does, I don't know how you put him back into the game. Even Torrey Craig's probably be brought up pretty soon. What is he doing? Why is he not playing? Is it a size thing too? Well, I just think he's a better option. I mean, who else? If Chris Paul throws that pass to Saric when Torrey Craig cut to the basket and dunked, Saric is not going to be able to do anything with the ball right there. You know what I mean? It's just like plays like that where you just need a Torrey Craig or someone else that's more athletic that can give you an option.
Or to have some sense of size. At least Frank Kaminsky has size. And I'll give a shout out to Code, because Code says this almost every podcast. Dario has 8 hands for feet. I mean, it's just like, and Montana says it's pronounced Saric. I ain't pronouncing his name right until he does some shit right. No. He does not deserve to have his name around.
I'm not sorry.
Right. Yeah, I'm not Saric. Saric, not Saric. It's frustrating to see that he is getting those minutes. Torrey Craig had 5 minutes in this game. He had 3 minutes in the last game. And I know that Torrey Craig might not necessarily be the answer, but Monty is playing Dario for a reason. And this is one of those things it's one of those frustrating things where Monty's loyalties to his rotations and to his player, a la Elia Kobo for the first half of last season, it might cost the Suns. Torrey Craig might not be the answer, but you know what? He's a lot more athletic, and I trust him a little bit more. You know what? When Chris Paul went down the lane and made one of his assists, it was Torrey Craig, and Torrey Craig dunked it. If Dario Saric tried that, he would have hit the rim and fell down, man.
Did I just say that? That's what I just said.
Probably. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm reading all the
I know.
Dario Saric has concrete feet from Los Phoenix Suns. It's better than Frank's.
I'm telling you, man, just like the lead for the Lakers, it was always just so close for the Suns. It's just like Dario Saric on the floor, man. He's just so close to getting the ball or doing something, but it's just not there. It just couldn't happen. That's the way the Suns were tonight. Exactly the way Saric played. It's really, really strange.
Well, on the other side of Dario Saric, if we're going to continue talking about the Suns bigs.
Payne Watch 2021.
Deandre Ayton, man. I mean, this guy is aggressive again. I loved early in the game when Andre Drummond tried to get a flop called, and that's one of those moments where DA kind of backed into him, Andre Drummond went flying, and he did the spin around. In the past, he just kind of lay that one up like he dunked that. Like we had like 5 or 6 dunks from DA tonight. Ends the night with an impressive stat line, 42 minutes played, 11 for 13 from the field, 22 points, 10 rebounds, 8 of those coming in the second half, only 2 offensive rebounds tonight. But you look at it, he is now 24 in this series, from the field, averaging 21.5 points. It's just unbelievably fantastic.
He was really good tonight again. And that reverse lay-in where I thought it was Payne at first taking the ball to the rim. I was like, are you serious?
Yeah,
like,
how sick
dude,
was that?
That was pretty crazy. I mean, he went up when he went towards the rim. I'm like, how is he going to dunk this when he goes back under? It's like, what? He reversed that? So that was insane. My second favorite play, though, was when he had the ball against LeBron James and he was down on the block. He backed him up, passed the ball out. After that, I think it was a shot clock violation or something happened. But next time he went back down to the other side of the floor, Chris Paul got in his face. And I was like, I wonder what they're talking about. I'm like, oh, yeah. He told him, he's like, no, you take LeBron. Yeah. You abuse him if you have to. Because honestly, yeah, LeBron's big. But a little jump hook over that dude, it's there. Just don't be scared of him. I think that's what Chris Paul told him, and I love that, dude. And honestly, I think that he just needed to be a little bit more aggressive tonight when there was the shot clock violation where he got blocked by Anthony Davis on the backside.
That was a horrible play call. Coming out of the timeout.
It was, but he had the jump hook before that. He had it before that.
He did,
and he passed it back out. So he had that. He passed out of it. That was like the one bad play tonight by him.
Yeah, but outside of that, I mean, another thing that I found interesting is of all the adjustments that I thought the Lakers would make, I thought Ayton would be a primary adjustment. Now, granted, one of the things that they did was everything they could to keep him off the glass early, and that's what they did with the Drummond moments. Is essentially they were pulling him out of the paint. They were doing switches that would put him onto AD, and then they were pulling, and then AD would run to the corner or have the ball up on the key. And what that equates to is the Lakers having the ability to pass a couple times, take a shot, and if they miss it, you have Andre Drummond down low to mop up the mess. And mop up the mess he did. He had 15 points, 12 rebounds, 5 offensive rebounds in 24 minutes played, and he had a double-double with 3 minutes left in the second half, or in the second quarter. So, I mean, he did the majority of his damage in the first half. Then the Lakers kind of pivoted in the second half. So that was the one adjustment they made for DA. But again, the back end of the game, he was finding his rebounds. He was getting more aggressive on the boards. He was kind of figuring out, and that's the thing with DA, is you're watching him start to figure out, hey, this is what they're doing to me. And I'm sure that at halftime when Monty is making the adjustments, he's going to his coaches and they're giving him kind of some feedback. It's like, hey, here's what they're trying to do to you. So don't let them do it to you. If Andre Drummond's going to kind of sneak away and they're going to try to pull you out of the paint, whether it's AD Anthony Drummond or AD Anthony Davis, stay as close to that paint. I noticed that in the second half. He started staying close to the paint, started getting more rebounds. Offensively, he carried the load. It was him and Devin Booker again. Again, that's the disadvantage of CP3 being hurt, is he typically, due to his ability to be a threat offensively, can also get other guys involved because you can collapse on him, and the Lakers aren't doing it right now. Or I'm sorry, the Suns aren't doing it right now. But, I mean, DeAndre Ayton, fantastic performance again. Being aggressive, being everything that Suns fans have wanted him to be. When the lights are shining the brightest, the future is bright for this gentleman. He knows that when it comes time for a couple extensions at the end of this season, the playoffs is where you earn that money. And so far, he's 2 for 2 in his games.
Oh, yeah, you're totally right. And my favorite part, the TNT broadcast where they have the sound bites from Monty Williams. And usually I don't care about these because usually it's like, come on, let's go. But Monty talking to him about, yeah, that's all it usually is. And he was telling him, hey, like mentally, like don't let it get inside your head. You're wasting energy. You got to use that energy for something else. Like it's stuff you don't ever hear from coaches from the sideline. Of course, they don't release everything, but the way that he talks to DA, I love seeing that because you never get to see that or hear that. But Monty's like that all the time with him, and that's such a big help too. That's why D is having such a good postseason right now, 2 games in.
2 games in, and it's him and Devin Booker, and shout out to Devin Booker again. We talked about a little bit at the beginning of the podcast, but he's shouldering the offensive load, and that's what superstars do, and that's what we talked about, or I know that I talked about prior to this postseason beginning. Is Devin Booker would have to, we would need him to score at least 25 to 30 points a night, because that's what stars do. And if you want to be that superstar, you have to prove that. You know what? The thing that really shocks me is, I guess it doesn't shock me because Devin Booker is the biggest believer in Devin Booker, but you see it in his face. That dude is confident as a motherfucker, dude. And he believes in himself and his team believes in him. And as this series progresses, and that's the beautiful thing. It's a 7-game series.
Yeah.
There's it's going to sway back the other way, but I think that his ability to score, to get to his spots, and again, with pressure coming at him, with size coming at him, 7 for 17, not the sexiest night, but understanding, hey, I can get to the free throw line. I'm learning how these guys defend, so I'm going to put them in compromising situations that are going to benefit me, just like other teams do to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And he does look comfortable. He looks like he's been here before. That was one thing I was nervous about. It's just of course, he had 3 turnovers early, only 1 since after just the first quarter. He seriously just looks so good out there. I trust him a lot. And I went through my trust rankings where I trust DA and Mikal Bridges before Booker. But yeah, they're right in there together, right? Because Mikal Bridges, too, playing some really hell of a good defense, dude, out there against LeBron, doing the best he can, exerting himself on that end.
Let's talk about Mikal Bridges.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Mikal Bridges, okay? He is surprisingly matching up well with LeBron. I didn't think that a guy who's 60 pounds lighter would have the ability to do so. And this, again, shows you that LeBron James is a little bit hampered. I think that he is starting to play himself into shape, and that's the scary thing for the Phoenix Suns, obviously, is as Anthony Davis and LeBron James gain more confidence in their bodies and their capabilities, it's going to be tougher and tougher to guard them, and that's why it's so vital to make sure that people like Dennis Schroeder and Andre Drummond don't have positive impacts. But Mikal Bridges thus far has had the ability to body up LeBron James effectively. What's been disappointing about Mikal Bridges is his offensive load so far. He has 6 points tonight, 2 big threes. It was the first, his first 3 was the first points of the game, and he hit one in the fourth, but only 6 shot attempts. And on, again, a night where Chris Paul isn't playing, and, so there's extra shots to be taken. Essentially, those extra shots were taken by Payne, who, again, ended with 19 points, but had 15 shot attempts. And we're not seeing the cutting on offense. We're seeing Mikal Bridges, understandably so, is probably a little fatigued because he has to D up LeBron James and get switched on to AD. And, he's playing guys that are 60 pounds heavier than him.
Yeah, and honestly, if LeBron James and Anthony Davis do find their way back in shape, that's fine. They're still a bitch, so I don't care. Sorry, I just had to say that. I don't know.
Shout out to Glenn Brown, one of our Jamsters watching along live with us right now. A $5 donation that'll go towards our Suns playoff tickets. If you want to hit the super chat, we're trying to go to the Suns game, maybe game 5 of the NBA Finals, baby. But he says, hey, thanks. Hey, thanks, guys, for keeping the energy up after a loss. On to the next one, which is absolutely true. A couple other things I have in my notes. Cam Johnson hit 2 threes to end the third quarter, and 27 minutes from him tonight. And he also had to play a little bit of defense on LeBron, and LeBron hit that insane shot over him that was very vital in under 3 minutes left in the game, falling away. But I mean, if you force LeBron into that shot, that's good defense. That's the best you can do. LeBron's going to hit that shot because he is LeBron. But Cam Johnson's 2 for 4 from the field, the 6 rebounds, the 1 assist, the 1 assist, the 3 rebounds, the 6 points. What do you think of Cam Johnson's performance tonight and, over these first 2 games?
Solid. I think he actually played very good on the box out. He was facing up his man down under the paint, which he has to do. That's what I wanted Sarge to do. He could do it a few times, or he tried to do it a few times. One of the times worked, but Cam Johnson did a pretty decent job there. Maybe not even really getting the rebound, but tipping it out, just facing up his guy, face guarding them under the rim. That is the best thing he could do. I actually put a note when the Suns were down by 15 and Book helped him come back. I was like, in my notes, we need 6 3-pointers the rest of the game from somebody else other than Booker, other than whoever else can help us out. Payne had 2 of them. Cam Johnson had 2 to end the third, and the Jay Crowder only had the one big one with the foul, which was amazing.
It was huge.
It's like if we had that one more 3-pointer when we're up by 1, Who knows, man? It might have been a different ending to the game. But Cam Johnson, he's doing what he needs to do. I feel like he's fully healed, right? I mean, he's using his body on defense.
Oh, yeah.
He's putting himself out there. He doesn't look like he's afraid of anything. It is the playoffs, but he hit some big shots tonight, dude. And that's nice to know that. That's nice. We don't have to worry about him. Jay Crowder had the off night, even though he had that one big shot, which was really nice that he had. But he had the off night. He could have got a couple threes. That would have been great. But Cam Johnson, I thought he absolutely did pretty good tonight, man. I like him.
And that's going to be a key to this series moving forward is Cam Johnson's going to have the ability to pour some points in because we're not getting much offense from other places. You know, if you go down the stat line and you look at the starting five for the Los Angeles Lakers tonight, you had 0 points from Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. But then you had 24 from Schroeder, 15 from Drummond, 23 from James, and 34 from Davis. Okay, their bench had a total of, let's math it, 13 points tonight. Okay, the Suns, you had 31 from Book, 22 from Ayton, and then it's 8 from Crowder, 6 from Bridges, 6 from Paul. And then our bench had a total of, let's see, math real quick, 29 points. So 29-13. Obviously, Payne had to have the majority of those because Chris Paul didn't play very much. But you're going to need more offensive performance from either Bridges or Crowder. That's what it comes down to. And I said that coming into the series. The role players are going to be vital because they're going to have the open shots. Cam Johnson went 2 for 4 off the bench, 2 for 4. Mikal Bridges from 3 went 2 for 4. You got to get them a couple more shots. You have to have the ability to, Booker's got to get ball out of his hands and create another offensive threat. And, this is a tough defensive team we're playing against. I was talking to somebody today at work and we're like, hey, if we can somehow get through the Lakers, like it really opens up because the confidence that the Suns would have if they can defeat the Lakers. And 2, you're not going to run into much more difficult defense than the Los Angeles Lakers in this playoffs. You're just not. So, Cam Johnson is going to be a vital cog moving forward. I think that his confidence is obviously up. He knows that, he feels comfortable and it'll be interesting to see how he performs moving forward. I do want to bring real quick. Let's hit this one.
SB Nation says.
So I was hanging out on Silver Screen Roll, which is the SB Nation site for the Los Angeles Lakers, and I come with you, Jamsters, with a few words that they said in their live game thread about the Phoenix Suns. Ayton looks like the best big in this series. He knows how to play center. Thoughts, Matthew?
He does.
Is that what you're going to do? No matter what I say, you're like, yep, correct.
Yeah. No, Ayton, he proved himself. I mean, he absolutely did. And that's all I got to say, man. We just had Ayton watch, so spoil it all there.
But here's what I'll say. From the outside looking in, he's impressing people outside of the Suns organization. The impact of Ayton's play in the offseason will necessitate something close to a max contract. Because if you have the Lakers watching him, and they're like, damn, he's the best big out there. Hey, Andre Drummond's kind of old. Marc Gasol, he's about to retire. Let's go get Ayton. You can see it happening. So the outside looking in, the optics on who DeAndre Ayton is, just remember that, Suns fans. When you're sitting there complaining about the fact that he doesn't always dunk, everyone around the league would like an opportunity to do or to have DeAndre Ayton. That's the game script we want. Let the role players help carry the burden early, then close the show with our hammers, Braun and AD. That's exactly what happened tonight, man. The guy who killed us tonight, above all else, was Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder had 24 points on 8 of 16 shooting, 6 for 6 from the free throw line. His offense is what really hurt the Phoenix Suns tonight.
He was. And honestly, a lot of people talked about him being the X factor for the Lakers. It's totally true. He is. Honestly, okay, so Anthony Davis, he ended the game great. He had the one big 3 at the end. Fantastic. I know he had more than 30 points, but I'm just telling you, from just watching the game and not the box score, we do this for Ayton all the time. If Ayton has a great game, we can tell without looking at the box score. If I were to be like, Anthony Davis had 30 points in this game, are you fucking kidding me? I don't feel like he even showed up.
It's the free throw line, man. He went 18 for 21 from the free throw line.
Oh, absolutely. And he's going to. I guess that's his game, right? Getting to the free throw line. But these guys, I don't even care. We already lost this game. LeBron James and Anthony Davis, they show how beatable they are tonight. If this is the way, I mean, Kellen Olson says something about it. You're going to see tonight whether or not LeBron James has it in him, basically, to show tonight what he's going to be like the rest of the series. And it's totally true. So he's a setup man. And I think just like the bench behind him and the setup guys like Schroeder, Pope went 0 for nothing tonight.
Yeah.
He even got yelled at in the face by LeBron and like
That
showed
was
him up
crazy.
in front of everybody. Like, why? If I had a leader like that, that would suck ass, because that's all for the cameras. All right. I'm just saying tonight with this game, if that's the best they're going to play, the Suns have this. They have this series as long as Chris Paul can get at least to 89%, because the whole game itself, he started out sucky, Anthony Davis. Then he did okay. I don't see it.
That's
I don't see how he can,
analysis right there. He started out sucky.
He can't win them a game, though. I don't think he can. LeBron can. He can hit big shots. But then when he starts to hit his big shots, and then the Suns start to, as soon as he started hitting his shots, LeBron, then the Suns started hitting their threes. It's like, well, you can't match him. You have to do it before he does that. And I don't think Anthony Davis, I don't believe in him to win me a game. So I'm just saying, if they're going to play like that, I don't think the Suns have an issue as long as Chris Paul's healthy.
Well, again, therein lies the ultimate X factor. And the next statement on SB Nation says, I would put Chris Paul in pick and rolls at some point. He just doesn't look right. So, I mean, obviously that's, everybody saw that. And that's a valid point, and that's adjustment to look for as we move towards game 3 is if they try to, we saw them pestering Chris Paul on the offensive end. They might try to take advantage of him in the defensive end. Dennis Schroeder did a little bit. He goes, if they make at least half their wide open threes, this game wouldn't be close. They being the Lakers. And in the first half, that's true. If you look at the Lakers and how they've shot the 3 ball so far this series, 30% in this game, and they didn't shoot well in the last game. And at one point, they were like 2 for 15. So it's just something to keep an eye on. They're not necessarily a great three-point shooting team, but again, something to keep an eye on and that Lakers fans are noticing. I think the Phoenix crowd is having an effect on the Lakers. It's been a long time since they played in such a hostile environment. Way to go, Suns fans. All of you who were there tonight, way to make that a hostile environment, baby. That's what it's about. And then after LeBron hit that 3, dagger, baby, should have blown the Mario Ellie kiss of death after that one. Hey.
Yikes.
It ain't a fucking game 7, okay? You only kiss of death us after a game 7. Jesus
and
Christ.
LeBron's back, dude. I can't wait. Oh, just because they're not hitting their wide open threes, that's why they lose games. That's why it's close. It's like that's every fucking game, dude. So I honestly don't want to hear that. What I see on the court is a team in the Suns that can really, really hang with the Lakers. And I'm telling you, dude, if they have the Chris Paul in the end with clutch, we're there. We got this. Well, series.
Let's go right into our game 3 preview. So the game 3 will occur on Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Matthew, I was thinking of coming down and watching the game at Cold Beers and Cheeseburgers with you and doing the podcast at your place.
Let's do it.
Can we do that?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Watching
ask him. I'll ask him tomorrow if we can do the pod from.
Yeah, seriously, please do. That'd be
with
fantastic.
The audio. Yeah,
the audio will be fine. Our audio.
Let's do it.
So game 3 is on Thursday. There's going to be some adjustments there. Mm-hmm. What's the outside of CP3 being healthy? Because that's the number one adjustment. CP3 is healthy in this game. We win, dude. There's think about that, Lakers fans. Think about that. Mm-hmm. We have to have a hurt CP3 for you to beat the Suns. How good are you? But outside of that as an adjustment, are there any other adjustments you think that the Suns should make in ability to beat the Lakers come Thursday? Because it's going to be tough. It's going to be a hostile environment. It's going to be, Devin Booker's first playoff road game. Deandre Ayton's first playoff road game. The emotion's going to be different in that house, and they have to be prepared for that.
They do. And honestly, if you're one adjustment, it's going to be the turnovers, right? It's a low-scoring game for the NBA today. The way these games are going to be, 109, 102, it's kind of low-scoring, right? That's pretty low. I honestly think if they're going to slow it down a little bit more, that would be nice. I want them to slow it down in the first quarter. No more of this BS of just turn the ball over, thinking someone's going to go somewhere, and they're not. Make the right decisions quick. I mean, this team, even with Chris Paul being hurt, and I said it throws everything off in the offense. You have a day tomorrow. Maybe they can practice some things. If Payne's going to get a lot of minutes, maybe fill him in on some things to where he can be, adjustable in that offense, so where you're not turning the ball over so much. And these passes are they have to be better. That is the one thing. Just be smart with the passes, because when you're down 14-10 or whatever in the first quarter, you barely get over 20 points. It's like that's fine, but you have to realize when you have the Lakers down that way and LeBron's not getting going, you can't match him, like I said, with his 3-pointers and his shot. That's when you got to take care of business. And honestly, if the Suns were just to minimize those turnovers, it would have been a good game and a better outcome for the Suns fans. And Thursdays, that's what I'm looking for, man. Just don't turn the ball over as much. Of course, you're going to have some, but just be better with the ball.
No, I completely agree. I think that, again, it's like the Warriors game against the Lakers in the play-in game where they almost lost that game. They were helped by the Warriors turning the ball over, and it wasn't forced turnovers by the Lakers. Don't get me wrong. There were some tonight. Anthony Davis on defense was legit tonight. He's playing the passing lanes. He was playing like free safety, just waiting for those cross-court passes. He's picking them off. But a lot of the turnovers tonight for the Suns and for the Warriors last Wednesday were unforced turnovers. And because of that, you allowed the Lakers an opportunity to get up early. Because if you look at how this game played out, in the first quarter, the Suns were outscored by 6. In the second quarter, they were outscored by 0. In the third quarter, they were outscored by 1. In the fourth quarter, they were outscored by 0. So it came down primarily to that first quarter where they turned the ball over a ton. They had like 8 turnovers in the first quarter. You shore that up, you take care of the ball, good things are going to happen for this team. So I think that's an adjustment, obviously, they're going to have to make. I think another adjustment is on those traps for Devin Booker, you need to have the ability to create a couple different scoring options for you. So they need to run some trap plays. They need to have the ability to have, if a trap play runs on the, from the high pick and roll area headed towards the left key, you're going to send Jay Crowder to catch the ball, and then you're going to hit, Deandre Ayton down low. You have to scheme a little bit better because the traps are going to come at Devin Booker. And that's just, that's just a fact. Devin Booker will be trapped a little bit more, especially with the high emotion that will be occurring in the Staples Center. That will happen. If Chris Paul's healthier, you will see a little bit more of the pick and roll, because there was a lot of really good pick and rolls tonight. The disadvantage for the Lakers due to their size is they're not great at defending the pick and roll. If you bring in Marc Gasol, if you bring in, even Andre Drummond, not good on the pick and roll, but CP3 didn't have the capability to take advantage of him because he's hurt right now. He's gimped. He's got no right arm, and because he could have cooked him tonight if he really wanted to. So I'm looking for Chris Paul to hopefully feel a little bit better come game 3 and have the ability to utilize those pick and rolls to cook Andre Drummond, get him out of the game.
Yeah, and honestly, I was thinking that too. If Chris Paul can just get him on one-on-one and when he's healthy, he would have cooked him. And that's one thing I totally missed tonight.
Well, another problem that the Suns had tonight was, I think that the fast break is an area in which the Suns could win against the Los Angeles Lakers. They're just a slower team. I mean, they're a bigger team. They're not necessarily known for their fast break capability, just like the Suns. We're two teams that kind of live in the middle relative to fast breaks. But you look at game 1, and the Suns outscored the Lakers 16-9 on the fast break. Tonight, they were outscored 15-4. And the Suns had plenty of opportunities to get on the fast break, but they did a couple of things. One, they turned the ball over on the fast break a lot. And 2, they would shut the fast break down. They would just hold it and let LA get into that set defense. And you can't let yourself get into that or allow LA to get in that set defense because they're a great defensive team. So if one of the advantages they had last week or on the game on Sunday was the ability to get on the fast break, high energy, get some dunks, getting the crowd, even more riled up. And you just didn't see that tonight. So I think that that's something that Monty needs to kind of take a look at. It's like, listen, you're going to have to get the ball out and get moving and take care of it in transition.
Yep.
Correct.
Correcto.
If you look at the rebounds tonight, 39 for the Lakers, 31 for the Suns, 8 on the offensive boards for the Lakers, 4 for the Suns. So another adjustment is obviously, I think Dario Saric has got to be the adjustment, man. I think Torrey Craig, he's a better rebounder than Dario.
What are we missing then? What are we missing with Torrey Craig though? To where he's
I honestly think that Monty Williams has an affinity for Dario Saric because he's a guy who helped him in the bubble last year. He came back. He wanted to be a part of this team. He chose to come back in restricted free agency. So Monty has a loyalty to him, and we've seen this with Monty Williams in the past. He's loyal to guys like Elliot Kobo last year. To a fault. And I don't know what Torrey Craig does in like his 3 minutes in game 1 and his 5 minutes in game 2 where he comes in and then he gets pulled off the court. He'll have a nice rebound, he'll have a dunk, and then like he's sitting on the bench and Dario's out there like tripping over his white shoes that he was wearing tonight.
Do you think we lost the game because of Dario's minutes?
I wouldn't. Yes, I would say yes.
Because it was bad. He's like a piece of bread out there he's like getting sliced up the whole night. It was terrible. It was the worst thing I've ever seen. But yeah, we already talked about it. Sorry.
Well, it might be write an article for Bright Side of the Sun worthy to talk about how bad Dario's minutes were. Because I mean,
Not that mean.
No, I'm that mean. I would definitely be like, yo, Dario needs to sit down. I mean, Dave King tweeted it out after the first quarter. He said 10 minutes, 0 points, 2 rebounds, 2 turnovers, 2 personal fouls. That was Dario Saric's first quarter when Jay Crowder was out of the game. And that was the quarter that we lost. That was the most important quarter. The first quarter, coming into this game, we knew that the first quarter would be the most important one because you knew the Lakers were going to come out punching and kicking in the balls. They're going to come in, they were going to come out punching and kicking, and they got Jay Crowder instantly in foul trouble, put Dario out there for a prolonged period of time. And the Suns, we were thankful that they were up after 6, or they were down after 6 after the first quarter and second quarter, because Dario's minutes were just absolutely abysmal. So when we hand out this award, I know it's not going to Dario Saric.
Jam Star of the Game.
Who are you giving the Jam Star of the Game to? And if you're in the chat, let us know who your Jam Star of the Game is, man.
Oh, man, it has to be maybe Ayton, but I'm going to say Booker. And honestly, Booker should have had more shot attempts. When he got hot, when we were down by 15, he brought us back. Keep getting him the ball. He should have had the ball a lot more in the third quarter going into the fourth. Payne took it away from him a little bit. There's that thing where you just, if someone's hot, give them the ball. Just keep going to it. And especially when it's Devin Booker. I know Payne, he put up some good numbers tonight. He did the best he could, but you have to have your all-star Devin Booker, where we're like debating whether or not he's a star on the TNT broadcast. I don't even understand what the hell that was. I almost turned it. If I knew where the fuck the remote was, I would have turned it. But he should have just had more shot attempts, man. He should have shot at least 25 times tonight. He only had 17. That's pretty nuts. Well, he's my jam star.
It's all over the place. You got some Ayton love, you got some Book love, you got some Payne love tonight, for being the guy who stepped in the absence of Chris Paul and provided some semblance of offense and providing some assists and hitting some big shots. Payne for the points in the most important parts of the game. So AZ Suns Cards says in the chat. Booker because he had the most points. I'm going to give it to Deandre Ayton, man. I mean, he is continually fortifying the fact that he is the number 1 pick in the draft because he is playing fantastic basketball right now.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. I agree with you. I think that Devin Booker needs to shoot a little bit more in a game in which that CP3 is gone. Like Booker needs to throw up a 40 spot, preferably an efficient 40 spot. And don't get me wrong. The Lakers they're counting on that and they're game planning against that. So they're trying to negate him from taking those shots. And that's what happened tonight. He probably would have had 24 shots if he had one-on-one coverage and had the ability to take those shots, but he's getting doubled, pushed off his spots. They wouldn't let him get to his spots tonight as much as he did in game 1. Therefore, he only ended with the 31 points and 6 for 15 or 6 for 7 for 17 shooting on the evening. So I give my jam star in this game to DeAndre Ayton because he is shoring up that interior. He is scoring those baskets that are so vital, so unbelievably vital in the playoffs, or the easy baskets, because you're going to have to make a lot of hard ones and you can't miss the easy ones. And he was fucking dunking tonight. He was throwing them down.
Dunking, big boy.
Keep dunking, big boy. And kudos to the Suns for getting to the free throw line, for making the attempt early and often. And this is a big part of Devin Booker, but getting to that free throw line. I mean, they ended up shooting a total of how many free throws tonight?
20 to 30.
20 to 30. I see 30.
30.
Oh, well, yeah, but they had 30 shot attempts. The Lakers had 31 shot attempts. So I mean, that's getting to the line. They had as many free throws in the first quarter of this game than they did the entire game 1. Mm-hmm. So, kudos to the Suns for making that adjustment. It's something you're gonna have to continue to see moving into game 3. But plenty. How you feeling going into game 3? How are you feeling as a Suns fan?
It's tough, dude. This was a tough loss. We haven't done this podcast during a loss for the playoffs, so this is
first time for everything.
Yeah, it sucks. And honestly, when the Suns were close, they were up by 1. It's like you have to take advantage of that to pull away, and they didn't. And at that time, I was like, it sucks, but it was expected in a way. It's like if they were to win that's the first time any of my teams have ever done anything to win a valuable game ever. Because that winning 2 games in a row against LeBron James and the Lakers, historically great for my team honors. But it didn't happen. And honestly, it was kind of expected. I'm not feeling too bad. Like I said before, dude, if we can get Chris Paul healthy, just a little bit more healthier, then I think we're going to be fine. So I'm not 1-1's good. If we can come back tied 2-2, that'd be perfect.
Yes, sir. Well, and I'll tell you what, 2-0 sure does sound better. I'd be on cloud 9 right now. If
that's insane, though, right? Did you really expect that to happen, though? Like,
no, I didn't.
It's impossible.
But we had a shot at it, and I think that's important. Again, Chris Paul with one arm, not playing minutes. You know, the difference between this and last game is he actually played minutes in the last game. And was a decoy at least. But, I mean, we only lost by 7 with Chris Paul down. This team is going on the road. It's going to be tough. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose game 3. I would not be surprised. But you know what? I do expect them to split that series in LA. I really do. This team is tough mentally. They have grit. They play defense. Defense travels. So, you know, you can't show me a Lakers fan right now who's truly comfortable with the way that their team played tonight. In this victory. I mean, they'll talk all the shit that they want to because that's what Lakers fans do. They think that, you know, I think what is it like Magic Johnson's God, Kobe Bryant is Jesus, and like LeBron James the Holy Spirit or some shit. Like they've got this whole like
it's pretty nice
Illuminati shit. Yeah, we're like Steve Nash.
Steve Nash, Barbosa,
Tom Chambers. You know, so it's like but still. A lot of Lakers fans, based on what I was seeing in the SB Nation Silver Screen and Roll tonight, they're nervous about this Suns team because it's a team that plays with grit. It's a team that is pestering. You know, how much do you think Lakers fans hate Cameron Payne?
Oh, absolutely, because you don't know anything about him going into the series, right? Yeah. You're like, okay, Chris Paul's hurt. We don't, you know, he's better than any backup they have. So, of course, they're going to be very, very upset and annoyed. It's like Caruso 2.0.
Yeah, he is their Jack Taylor Award winner tonight if they're doing their podcast.
Absolutely.
Because he had 19 points off the bench, and they're like, who the fuck is this guy? The guy who got ejected last game? The guy who's, you know, trying to box out LeBron? Like, who is this guy? We have toughness. We have grit. This is unlike any Phoenix team that you've ever seen. And they're going to fight. You know, there's no layover in this team. There's no rollover in this team. You know, so I'm excited to go into game 3. I can't wait for Thursday afternoon. I just like, you know, the cool thing today is like I was so busy at work, I didn't even think about the game. And then like I left work, I started driving home, and it was like, let's go Suns till the day I die. Like I was just bumping that shit today, man. Like Valley Boys, we them Valley Boys. You know, I was just like, I was getting amped, man. You know, it was big time.
Well,
you know,
they showed up though. You know, they did, man. This team will show up every game, win or lose.
Just hold on to the fucking ball. Stop turning it over. You don't turn it over and let 21 points happen for the Los Angeles Lakers, and you can win this game, man. So that's good to know. So I think that's it for this podcast. Thank you, everybody who decided to join us, whether you're listening along on the Bright Side of the Sun podcast network or you're watching along live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. If you are on YouTube, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe. You can join the pod by following the join button or the link in the description below. If you want to hit the super chat button, go ahead and do it. Let's get us some Suns tickets so we can broadcast from the arena live after a victory for the Phoenix Suns. You can follow the show at Suns Jam on Instagram, Twitter, and the Phoenix Fans app. You can follow me on Twitter at Darth Voida. You can follow Matthew on Twitter
at Matthew Lizzie.
Take care, Suns fans. We'll see you Thursday night. Beat LA, baby.
Yeah, everyone go home and spank your family.
What?
Let me hear it. Let me hear it. Let me hear it. Come on, let me hear you say. Beat LA. Let me hear you say. Beat